you help me, I repay you back because I should and I owe you. Now, how many times have you been helped by someone and that person wants your help back? How many times do you reject that person? Chances are very low, okay? We are compelled to do it. That's why we call it compliance. Now, next one, how do you enhance compliance, okay? Especially for salesmen. The first one, it's the door in the face technique. Some people are good at doing this, yeah? But I'm not that so. Now, this is developed by Robert Cialdini, okay? A door in the face technique, it means first you're asking for a huge favor, okay? Of course, in your mind, you will realize that the person will say, no, I can't do it, I just can't do it, okay? But then because the person says the big favor is a bit tough to do, then you're coming to a small favor. You say, can you just do this small favor? I don't need you to do so much, okay? Then, naturally, you'll say, in your mind you process a huge and a small favor. And you would naturally say, yes, I would do it for you, okay? Now, even if I pass out my questionnaire, if I ask the person to do 10 of them, they will say it's too hard to do. So I just pretend to just lower down the number to 2, okay? And that people would help me to do it. The next one is the foot in the door technique, okay? It means a small request first. You ask for a small request. Now, when you ask for a small request, often the person has the ability or the energy or the resources to help you. After that, when the person has done it, then you're asking for a bigger request, okay? You can ask for a person for, can I borrow 1 ringgit? After that, when the person say, okay, it's just 1 ringgit, I'm gonna lend it to you. And then slowly, the next day you say, can I borrow 2 ringgit? 2 ringgit is still small. And then 10 ringgit, and then 50 ringgit, and then 100 ringgit, and 1,000 ringgit. And when you just don't realize it, it is actually a huge amount, okay? This is unconsciously because we're comparing. Gradually, it increases and we don't even realize it, okay? Imagine if I want to borrow money from you, starting from 2,000. It is very hard, okay? But if I start little, crawling into your heart, into your kind heart, okay? Slowly it would do that for me. Now, next one is the that's not all technique, okay? Now, that's not all technique means you hide something, but at the end of the day, you show it to other people. And that's when people perceive that, I got more than that, okay? Now, people would think that it's worth the bargain, okay? Now, let's say you would ask someone to buy a perfume, okay, a perfume. You just say, this perfume worth 200 ringgit and it smells really good and please buy it, okay? After that, the person is thinking, that's when you come in and you say, okay, we're going to give you a free towel. We're going to give you a small perfume for you. Okay, how would you think? You would think, it's good because it's worth my money. That's when you would buy it, yeah? Now, also the third one, the last one, it's the factor. You have to consider the mood factor. And most importantly, when people is in a really bad mood, please do not persuade someone or you're asking for a favor because it's just not going to work, okay? Always ask when the person is happy, when the person just got a promotion, or when the person, or on the day, it's the person's birthday. And that's the best time to ask, okay? Now, even children, when children, or you want to ask your husband or your wife for something, ask the person when the mood is happy. That's why when people ask for a favor, often they like to bring in a gift for you. They bring in a gift and that makes you happy. And then after that, they would ask for a favor from you. Now next one, after that, from persuasion, now we are moving into cognitive dissonance, okay? Cognitive dissonant means there is a gap, there is a gap between. Now, cognitive dissonance theory means we try to reduce the discomfort of the feelings that we feel when two of our thoughts are inconsistent, okay? Now, sometimes we want to believe something, but it is hard to believe, yeah? An example might be a cheating husband, okay? That the wife have suspected that the husband is cheating, but many times the wife just tend to neglect or ignore and say, no, maybe he's just having a meeting, or maybe he's just have to serve someone, he has to meet someone. Oh, I think that's fine. Because when we have a conflicting thought, it becomes very uncomfortable for us to live day by day. And somehow we deceive ourselves. Yes, I would say we deceive ourselves to make ourselves comfortable. Now, there was one case whereby this guy, he locked up his daughter for 17 years in the basement and had babies with his own daughter and have a few children, and this was exposed like 20 plus years or 17 years, yeah? And you can see that it's very hard to imagine how the wife couldn't suspect anything. People are still puzzled to why the wife say he behaves normally for the past 20 few years. I mean, isn't that amazing? Now, in terms of the wife's mind, she might be having a cognitive dissonance, which means she acts to reduce the discrepancy between the two thoughts, yeah? And that will change our attitudes. Attitudes means we'll be happy and be glad to do it when that thing happens. Now let's look at an example. Now you have the picture of Fiona, okay? Fiona, she's in a school. Now the tuition here is too high. She complains that the tuition here is too high. Now one thing you have to remember, every year a university school fee would increase, okay? They would increase naturally, yeah? Now, first thing, she argues that the tuition is too high. So is she happy? She's not happy in one way because it's too high for her to pay. But in another way, what's her thinking? I need to study. I do need to study, okay? Now, so what is her behavior? Her behavior is that maybe that the school needs the money, okay? So there is a cognitive dissonance. There is a discrepancy between the two. So how does she come about at the end? So she might deceive herself, or she might just pamper herself and just say, maybe the school has a point, maybe it's good, or maybe when the school's tuition fee is high, the quality of the teacher would be good. Now that is how your mind works, yeah? Now sometimes this is a real case by someone. When someone do not engage in a cognitive dissonance, it can result in a very harmful behavior or an outcome. I know one mom, a very typical housewife who's married to the husband, obviously. The husband has cheated on her, and because she didn't engage in this cognitive dissonant approach, she couldn't accept it. It is just too much for her to handle. All this while, she perceived her husband to be good and kind and loving and just family-oriented man. And in another way, she couldn't accept the fact that the husband has another woman outside, okay? What happened to her in the end? Now, in other families, people would just disregard the issue. But what she just couldn't accept it. In the end, she lost her mind. She really lost her mind, and she's been like this until today. Okay, it's a real story, and sometimes reality is very hard to accept, and that's why we have to engage in cognitive dissonance. Now, next one. When we talk about persuasion, sometimes it's very hard to persuade someone. Yeah. People say by the second second, you would have already know that whether you want to buy that product or not. Okay, it is said by one of my students. Now, sometimes we resist persuasion. Yeah. Now, the first one is pre-existing bias. We are biased towards that thing. That's why anything that we say, anything that the person say, we just wouldn't want to listen, okay? Because naturally our mind just have shut, our ear has already shut. So it is useless to be persuaded in that way, okay?